I'm not a candidate.
You want me to work that for you?
As my kids would say, that's my jam.
Nikki Haley, down by 26 in her home state to Trump, attacks DeSantis.
Too lame to lead, too weak to win.
DeSantis, down 32 to Trump in Iowa, attacks Nikki Haley.
You can't trust Tricky Nikki.
There's only one candidate trying to stop Trump. Chris Christie is the only one who can beat Trump because he's the only one trying to beat Trump.
I'm in this race because the truth needs to be spoken. He is unfit.
Chris Christie has indeed released his first TV ads of this GOP primary. He's putting a six-figure allocation of funds specifically in a TV play of that ad in New Hampshire. And you'll notice that he's sort of striking an interesting stance here. He is attacking Nikki Haley and Ron DeSantis, saying that well, on the one hand, they're trailing massively behind Donald Trump, so that's an issue for them, but also they're focusing too much on each other, whereas he is releasing this ad focusing on them. Now, look, his point, I think, is that they're trailing, and perhaps one of the reasons they're trailing is because they're not putting enough attention into Donald Trump. And outside of this ad, irony, put aside for the moment, he has been far more critical of Donald Trump than the rest of the Republican candidates combined. That said, I just want to just briefly point out one thing that I found funny, Brett, about that ad was that he's like, Nikki Haley's down by X in her home state. Ron DeSantis is down by a bunch in Iowa. You know who's down by more? Him. Like he specifically listed that Ron DeSantis is down by a lot in Iowa. And I'm looking at right now, Ron DeSantis has roughly 5 to 6 times the support in Iowa that Chris Christie does. So I think the joke's on him and a little bit on me because he's the one out of the group that I support. But this is his first effort, Brett. What do you make of it? Will it work for him?
So as of December 11th, in Chris Christie's home state of New Jersey,
oh no,
he is losing to Donald Trump, Ron DeSantis, Nikki Haley, and Vivek Ramaswamy. That's why he didn't say, what's his name? Ron DeSantis, who's trailing to Trump in his home state, is blah, blah, blah. So the reason that he's attacking the other people, I can pretty much summarize by saying Bernie Sanders was doing very well in the primaries in 2020. But if you added up all the people who weren't Bernie Sanders, all those other ones who were pretty similar to each other and running against Bernie Sanders, their support all added up would be larger than Bernie Sanders' support within so basically, if you unite the opposition to Sanders, you get Biden. And that happened in South Carolina. A lot of people dropped out in order to galvanize that support. Yeah. That is the strategy right now. And what's happening for Christie is it should work to say, well, there's a difference between me and Donald Trump. I'm the only one who doesn't like Donald Trump. And so why are you voting for Nikki Light or Trump Light in Nikki Haley and in DeSantis? But what he doesn't understand is like those people already have the choice between Donald Trump and Nikki Haley, and they're choosing Nikki Haley. And more people are doing that than are supporting DeSantis and Christie himself.
Yeah. Look, for all of them, there are bad strategies and worse strategies. Like there's no like instant, if you just press this button, then Donald Trump no longer gets 70% of the support. It's tough, but I agree with him that it does look like DeSantis and Nikki Haley are like fighting for they're competing over each other's supporters. Even though we're one of them, to get all of them, it wouldn't be enough. Like the only way that this can work is you peel off people who support Trump, because that's the majority of all of them. Now, the only way that you can do that is to attack him. And I don't even think that that's really likely to succeed, but that's the only way that it could possibly succeed. You disagree?
Well, you just like they're going to attack him, John. They will eventually attack him. They need to win this battle before they fight the next one. Trump isn't on the stage with anybody. They need to be the last one standing on the stage.
They need to win this. Well, yeah, but I was in like 2 weeks. Like, how much longer can you wait for that? Well, don't you kind of get on it, or else you're going to be off the stage?
Well, it's a longer road than that. You
think just as long as they do it before Super Tuesday or something?
Well, you never know in Iowa because it's a caucus state. So Iowa being the first thing is exactly in every precinct, the thing I'm talking about happens, not the thing you're talking about. What I'm talking about is everyone's in a gym together. And everybody's like, as long as Trump's support is under 50% really in every little precinct, then unless it's over 50%, then everybody else, when their person gets eliminated in every round, they go to the person who's not Trump, unless their second choice is Trump.
Well,
if their second choice is Trump, then everybody's screwed.
I mean, I think for a lot of them, the second choice is Trump. The issue right now is he's at 48% in Iowa as of today. So
the question is, what can any of them do? Chris Christie's playing his hand. What the hell else is he supposed to do? Is it a winning hand? I think that's implicit in your analysis.
I think the path is harder for him than for some of the others, admittedly. I mean, and you, by the way, pointed out how bad he's doing in New Jersey. You could have stressed it even. He's at 4% in New Jersey.
Yeah.
That's like they chose him. It's their governor. It's crazy to me that he's doing so poorly.
Bridgegate.
But what's that?
Bridgegate.
Yeah, no, 100%. By the way, in New Hampshire, and this is where he's running the ads, Trump is at 46%. Notably, Christie is actually in third place in New Hampshire. Ron DeSantis is in 5th place behind Ramaswamy. So I guess it makes sense if he's going to have any chance to break through, it is probably going to have to be in New Hampshire, because as of right now, in Iowa, he's at 3.8%. So he's got significantly more support in New Hampshire. So tough road regardless. By the way, really fast, just note, the ad is being shown across local and cable TV, as you might expect, live sports broadcasts, that makes sense. But it's also targeting CNN, CNBC, and MSNBC's Morning Joe, which I just think is such an interesting strategy for a Republican primary candidacy to be targeting these places where, again, like, maybe there's, I guess maybe some Nikki or some DeSantis supporters maybe who are watching that, but I don't think a lot of the committed MAGA people are watching it. So again, I think that reveals a lot about the strategy.
So in New Hampshire, it's a version of an open primary. So one of the strategies, like if you're an undeclared voter, you could just show up and be like, I want to vote in that one. And then you can't vote in the other one. And because, and that's a strategy. And the other last thing I'll say is the road is long to the White House, sort of. And historically, people have been like Howard Dean was leading until he went, yeah, and everybody galvanized against him. Like, it's less likely will happen under Trump, but like, you've got to, that's why we play the games as the sports analogy, to make a sports analogy.
Yeah, it is going to be tougher because obviously Trump is much more of a known quantity on the national stage than Howard Dean was at that point. And you're right about the open primary. I never know how much, like, this isn't even an explicit strategy to bring Democrats in. Sometimes they try that, and even when people try that, I don't know how successful even that is. In this particular case, he has going for him that the Democratic Party has done a pretty good job of pretending that they're not even going to have a primary. So many Democrats might be willing to say, well, I guess it's not going to matter since we're not having one, even though there is. And so that frees them up a bit to cross over, perhaps. Maybe that's the best Hail Mary that he has, is to do some, sort of tricky, quasi underhanded stuff, based on the structure of their primary. We'll see. For more political news, breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/The Damage Report. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.